Well, let's bring in Jonathan Reynolds, shall we, Labour's Shadow Business Secretary. It's been a pretty convincing win for the government after all that.
Well, look, it was always going to be a result like this. I mean,
No,
the government, the government has a majority of 80. The government has a majority of 80.
It wasn't always going to
Governments
look
don't
like
lose
this.
second readings with majorities of 80. But what a shambles. I mean, again, to see these self-important, self-appointed groups of Conservative MPs completely got the run of the government, deciding policy in back rooms, coming out. You know, I think part of their thinking here with their abstentions is that they know they're going to have another 2 months of this, being on telly every day, running at rings around the Prime Minister. But that's no way to run a country. How long can we go on like this? And I think what made it so significant is, of course, today is the 4th anniversary of the 2019 general election, and the contrast in the two parties between us and them, Labour and Conservatives, in the last 4 years, how we've sorted ourselves out, faced some difficult things, fundamentally changed in response to that defeat. And here they are, back to the same old Tory backbenchers, not the national interest, dictating policy. I think the contrast is quite stark.
I will let you talk about the Keir Starmer speech today, which I know is what you're here, you want to talk about that. But I have got to pick you up on what you said at the beginning of this, when you said it was always going to be a result like this. It wasn't always going to be a result like this, was it? The government is going to be pretty relieved that not a single Conservative MP voted against the legislation. I'm not saying there aren't battles to come. I mean, look, there was an awful lot of abstentions, but they're going to be happy tonight. You've got to give them that.
I think to see people resign from government and then not vote against the legislation they're resigning over, you can probably say that's a little bit unusual, but only someone of the political acumen of Rishi Sunak could think this is a triumph. I mean, this is embarrassing. This is shambolic. It's a clown show. And every day, every week is like this. People ask me as an MP all the time, when do you think the next election is going to be? When do you think the Prime Minister is going to call it? And I say, honestly, I don't think Rishi Sunak knows when the next election will be. I think he lives day to day, week to week, but you cannot deliver what the country needs if that is the prison you put yourself in.
Keir Starmer's been speaking today. What's the message been?
Well, he's talking about how the Labour Party has changed under his leadership in the last 4 years, how we've done the difficult thing of accepting and responding to that defeat, how we have not just done a cosmetic change, but we've changed, and you can see that.
Just because I was quite intrigued by this line. He said, working people up and down our country looked at my party, looked at how we'd lost our way, not just under Jeremy Corbyn, but for a while. So it wasn't just the last 4 years. So what does it mean there?
Well, we haven't won a general election since the 2005 general election. So, again, that's
humility. So do you think that Ed Miliband lost his way then?
I think people are reading a little bit too much into some of the personalities. But, I think it was, the 2015 election, given how damaging austerity had been, given where the Liberal Democrats had gone in with the Conservatives, I think we could have been competitive in that election, but we were nowhere near it when the result came in.
Why is he back in the shadow cabinet then?
Well, because he's making a major contribution. But it's not about a particular era or a particular leader. I think we've got to have the self-awareness to say, if you haven't won a national general election since 2005, you've got to accept that. It's not about blaming the public. You've got to say, we've changed, and we can show how we've changed. Look at our relationship with the business community. Look at our relationship in terms of how we deal with defence and NATO, fundamentally different. Look at how we've ripped out anti-Semitism, a major challenge that we had to do. We can prove how we have changed. We can prove how we have focused on the people's priorities and the national interest, and we can contrast that with the Conservative Party that's doing none of those
things. Some people, I mean, not all, but some would say that Labour lost its way under New Labour when it came to immigration, not taking on board people's concerns at an influx of immigration from the EU. You voted against the Rwanda Bill tonight. Do you think there'll be some voters who think that actually, same old Labour, not tough?
No, not at all. Well, let's be frank. I mean, net immigration when the Conservative Party came to power was 250,000, just under that. It's 3 times that today. So, let's be clear, Labour's record in immigration was far stronger than anything we've seen here. Look, people want serious solutions. Rwanda has always been a gimmick. In this drama of the voting numbers, we learned today the cost has already gone up to £400 million. Our policy is to spend that money in a better way, tackle the actual problem, don't have people in hotels spend the money processing those claims, exactly as we did when Labour was in power. We didn't have this problem. Deal with the actual problem, not these gimmicks. The maximum number of people, if all of this goes ahead under the Conservative Party, which it may not still do, is 100 people going to Rwanda. They think that they talk as if every small boat is going to go.
They say it's uncapped.
They say it's the deterrent, that it's actually not about taking people to Rwanda, but the deterrent will somehow kick in, as if that's going to be a concern for the criminal gangs. But look, £400 million for a policy that is a gimmick is exactly what the British public detest. And I think they can see through this Prime Minister and this agenda, because they can see it's all about this performative attempt. They've attempted to create a wedge issue. What's gone wrong for them is it's been a wedge issue within the Conservative Party rather than with the opposition.
Great to have you here in the studio. Thanks for hot-footing it over here from the House of Commons to talk to us tonight, Jonathan Reynolds,